Sorry, I cannot find it.
Yeah, we need to close this, and yours is, okay. It's the IXP paradigm shift one, right?
Yep, that one.
Presenter.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Zoran Perovic, coming from an IXP in Serbia, SOX. First, I have to thank you all for staying at 6 o'clock and listening to what we have to say and to what we have to propose, let's say. This presentation will be much less technical than previous ones, but both protocols and business actually come together. It comes together in IXP maybe today more than anywhere else. Why? Because let me tell you just a short overview of my career. I am an electrical engineer. I started working in telco, doing transmission systems. Then I switched to switching. Then I was transmission guy in switching. Then I went for a voice over IP. I was consultant. Then I came back and I headed an ISP. Then I was telco guy in IXP, doing VoIP, which is again voice in data networks. And I was always going left, right, being manager, being engineer, being from transmission, being from switching, being from voice, being from data. And only recently I understood it is almost the only way to go. You need to work on a multitude of aspects of a business, otherwise your business will not be successful. Why am I telling you all of this in an infrastructure presentation? Because things are changing. They are changing today maybe in the same amount as they changed always. Internet is a fast changing environment, fast changing market segment. But some changes are there to be noticed, and some changes we honestly do not see until they already happened. And it is the one that can adopt, that survive those changes, not the strongest one, not the fastest one, but the one that can adopt to these changes. What do we have today? Today, we see internet landscape really changing a lot. We are witnesses of Great Firewall of China. We are not so much witnesses, but we will feel it eventually, of enclosing Europe in a similar manner as Great Firewall of China. We already see that operators in Turkey actually charge for peering, not pay for peering, but charge for the content that other operators are delivering to Turkish diaspora, which is in a way similar to what Google was doing to all of us, asking for free peering and then quarreling about who should pay. Then the latest trend is actually pricing. Pricing that global internet transit is becoming, if not cheaper, then definitely very close to peering. That is where we as an IXP started thinking, what shall we do next? Where is the next 100 gigabits of traffic? We started roughly 8 years ago from 2 nodes and 200 megabits of traffic. Today we have, I don't know, 10, 11 nodes in 3 countries. We connected almost everything that is to be connected, root DNS servers, CDNs, all the operators. We partner with other internet exchanges in the region. And all these years, I can only say that we were constantly changing our business model. But today our business model is actually endangered, or so we thought, by the ever lowering prices of global internet transit. But what we learned, and what I'm going to present here today, is that actually it is not true, because peering and global transit might be similar, but they are very different as well. And we regard, maybe because we are an IXP, we regard peering as a more valuable product than IP transit. We were talking today about BGP monitoring protocol, BMP, right? Rift. Those are protocols that are actually bringing new quality, new resilience into the network. Rift is actually adopting to the fact that more and more traffic is inside the data center, delivered to ISPs, delivered to IXPs, delivered to end users eventually. We are in a very close communication with our customers, very, very close communication. And we learn from them, what I'm about to say now, that one of the biggest ISPs in the country, they simply go and connect to 10 biggest CDNs. They connect to, let's be honest, 3 biggest IXPs, and they are almost done. 90% of all the traffic, it's there in 10 biggest CDNs and in 3 biggest IXPs. Meaning they only need to buy 10% of their total internet connectivity. This last 10% is actually IP transit. IP transit as it is today is, how to say, dirty. It is insecure. It lacks control. And all of that with large BGP communities is slowly coming from the peering side. We are going to do that, we are going to receive that from DKIX, AMSIX, and links of this world. I see that more and more vendors are adopting a large community, large BGP community, and that only means one thing, that eventually operators will stop buying global IP transit, and they will buy it in a very small doses, and they will start buying peering. They will buy peering, they will peer with big CDNs, and that is simply very different from what we used to do only 10 years ago. I don't know, 15 years ago, I was head of international division in Telecom Serbia, and we earned the most money of the voice switching. And what we do for voice interconnections, we had a huge voice switch, and we interconnect with the major destinations, being Germany, Austria, Spain, Netherlands, etc., etc., etc. Of course, neighboring countries. And it was a mesh of really a lot of small links. And we were fine-tuning these interconnections for many years. Then maybe 15 years ago, we completely changed the strategy and moved all the interconnections to Frankfurt. We even connected with neighboring countries in Frankfurt. Simply, it was much cheaper, it was very stable, the capacity was there, and everything looked very much like peering. An older colleague of mine, she's now like 70s, told me, Zoran, you are destroying our business. We are engineers, we used to maintain hundreds of links, we used to measure the quality, calculate the availability. Now what you did, you make 2 links to Frankfurt and poof, everything is connected there. What if both links goes down? But those links never went down simultaneously, of course. And what happened with voice interconnections 15, 20 years ago is actually happening to us now, because we do no longer need to have a zillion of interconnection links. We only need couple of links to couple of IXPs and to couple of huge CDNs, and that's it. Now, being an IXP, that would leave us out of business, so to say. But then we are again in close contact with our customers. We really communicate with them a lot. We listen to them. And what we learned is that they actually like us for our security, for our quality, for our reliability, scalability, everything that is written in there. And we continue to maintain the highest possible quality. Just this morning, Serge and I spoke about the RIPE-CE meeting, and I was complaining that this meeting is smaller than the previous one. And Serge told me, no, it is not the size that matters, it is the quality that matters. And I honestly can say that for the local IXPs as well. It is the amount of support and understanding and listening that we provide to our customers that are actually crucial. And when I say paradigm shift in the very beginning of this presentation, paradigm shift is actually in number of ways. We are trying to remain center of excellence. We are doing a lot of things to support and to empower our customers, to give them control. We introduced manners, and Goran and Nenad will talk about that later today or tomorrow, I believe. Manners, although we implemented it, is not really taking 100% off. It could be better. It could be much better. But again, we are supporting our customers to great extent and pushing them to use RIPE database and other databases, and to promote best practices. But what we learned from our customers is that if they connect to us on 10G, and we provide them with 3 different services, being peering, global internet, and anti-DDoS protection, the distribution would be the following: 70% peering, 20% global internet, and 10% anti-DDoS. We provide anti-DDoS in a cooperation with Voxility. We don't almost change nothing in their portfolio in the way we provide the service, but in general it is a small amount of traffic. IP connectivity we buy from tier 1s, and we actually give away those services to those who buy peering from us. We give global internet and DOS protection as a gift. Why we are doing that? First of all, it is good business move, so we can bundle the services around one customer. But we are sending much more messages to the market, to our customers. We are sending the message that peering is more valuable than global internet transit, and I believe I explained in previous 10-15 minutes why is that so. Peering is more secure than global internet transit, and peering simply gives much bigger control to our customers, so they can announce their prefixes in the way they want it, and not in the way global IP transit providers want it. We used to have 4, 5 global IP transit providers, but one of them, for example, being very good during the test, actually the minute that we signed the contract became useless, completely useless. Of course, we endured 1 year. That was the duration of the contract, and now I don't pick their phone calls at all because I'm furious with them. But nowadays in SOX, global IP transit is a value-added service. The main service is peering, and that is the paradigm shift. We are trying, and we are very successful in explaining our customers that it is the quality, the security, the control of the connectivity they receive via peering, that it is the thing to buy. And what needs to be bought a bit more on the side, we will send them anyway. So, as the slide said, speaking about the aforementioned is not enough. We are actually acting upon these guidelines, and this approach is rather new for us. We only adopted it like 6 months ago. We were talking about it, when I say we, Nenad, my business partner, and myself are owners of the company, and we make our decisions very fast. Zoran, our chief engineer, is here also. He's with us for 5 years, so almost the whole company is here. And we handle 300 gigabits of traffic, and we handle 9 POPs in 3 different countries, and we handle 45 customers and hundreds of 10G ports. So we are efficient, and we endured 8 years, which means that we provided good quality service to our customers, and we intend to do that. But in order to remain in business for another 8 years, we need to adopt, because those who adopt, those will survive, right? So what we always tell at these events, it's a communication, collaboration, cooperation. It is actually linking to the first part of my presentation about me being a switching engineer, transmission engineer, IP guy, data guy, voice guy, alternative guy, telco guy. Actually, today I am all of these guys, and I know how to talk to mobile operators. I know how to talk to fixed operators, to alternative operators, to CDNs, and in this communication, and of course, joint efforts, is actually the only way to survive this paradigm shift. So, next steps. First one is to survive, because those changes are not easy. Cogents and Hurricane Electrics of these worlds are actually very competitive, and they know these lessons very, very well, even before we did. So what we are doing, we are making new friends, we are making new partnerships, we are joining forces, and we think regionally. Our network stretches from Vienna via Belgrade to Sofia, so it is Carigradski Put, the old trade route. And we intend to stay in this regional market. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay. Max.
Hello, Max from the RIPE CC. In one of the initial slides, you were mentioning that large communities enabled IXPs to go global. Large BGP communities.
Doesn't it?
Well, what do you mean? Are you meaning the large BGP communities as in the RFC, or the communities in the sense of the
No, RFC. So, if IXP goes global, they have a multitude of interconnections and prefixes and everything, and if you want to tag from Belgrade something which is in Buenos Aires, you will need large BGP communities.
Okay, well, you need them if you have a 32-bit ASN. But
If you need?
if you have you need them if you have a 32-bit ASN. But sorry, I don't see the correlation between the two things. How large BGP communities enabled someone else to go global. But sure.
Krajko.
Nenad Krajinovic from SOX. Well, what's the main correlation between large BGP community and growth of IXP? With transit connection, you send the traffic to your transit provider, and then you cannot control it. It will go somewhere. If you look on a big IXP, which is global, and if you look what you can get with the large BGP community, you can get the routes, you can get the multiple routes to the same destination, where in the large BGP community you can have information about the latency to that AS, you can get information about the packet drop or whatever, so you can more control in your hands where your traffic will go. So you can choose the best path, you can choose the shortest path, you can choose the path with lower latency, and which means you have more control of your traffic. At the end, you can have a better quality of service for your end user than when you use the classical IP transit. More or less, yes, but if you speak with the transit provider, then you have one uplink and you see only his router. If we are talking about large IXPs, I see a lot of routers in the cloud of IXP network, and then I can choose where I will send my traffic, which I cannot do when I connected to the classical transit provider, transit ISP.
That was my understanding, yes.
Arnold.
So, Arnold Nippe. So what I would say, this is a large BGP community in this sense has nothing to do with large IXPs. So what I get from what you say is to every IXPs, please introduce large BGP communities to give your peers a better way to control traffic. This is for large, small, medium, whatever IXP.
Everyone, basically.
Everyone.
Yeah. I've seen
Even mom and pop's IXP.
Okay, one small addition to that. You're probably, the point is maybe not clear. What do large communities have to do with the network control? Well, if you worked ever in an environment where you have to do those old tables of communities, you probably did some BGP community assignments in your network, and you said you probably reserve the range of communities to say, do not advertise this. So when you tag, for instance, a route with community 6.6, that will mean do not advertise this route to a number of peers or to anyone, or prepend AS number once, twice, 3 times, and so on to other people. The point is, once you want to have a more granular control, then you are in trouble. Why? Because the classic communities have the first 16 bits reserved for your AS number and the last 16 bits for yourself. But in those last 16 bits, you cannot encode the AS number of another party because you will spend 16 bits. So the solution is the large BGP communities allow you to say that they have 3 parts, global AS, local AS, and your numbering space, all of them having 32 bits. So there you can encode your AS number, the remote AS number, and you have 32 bits to place. So in that sense, you can create a more granular scheme that would allow you to control your traffic better. That would be an explanation.
So it's just me. Yeah. How many questions will you give me? How many questions will you give me?
You have a question?
Yes. How many will you allow me?
We have 0 minutes left, but please go.
Okay,
Arnold is waiting.
that's good. So, Nish, I'll go with that. No hats. Firstly, I'm really excited to see that you've embraced the change. I'm the only Indian in the room, so I can say this. There's a saying in the Vedas that says if you cannot step in the same water twice. In other words, if you don't adjust, the world's always changing, you have to keep up to go with it. So that's great. Congratulations. And like you, I'm here to make new friends, and I hope to talk to you a little later on. But I don't understand a lot of what you've said. I don't understand how a lot of what you're saying is necessarily specific to an exchange point versus a transit provider. So for example, you said that peering is safer than buying transit. I don't understand that. I don't understand how. Do you have data to show that? Because I'm like the NCC guy who always sits next to me, whose name I never remember, Christian, who says, I always like to see data so that I understand something. I understand how peering could be safer than transit, but I'm not sure how it is safer than transit.
Okay.
I mean, I'm very familiar, just to be clear, I'm an economist, so I'm at a disadvantage from the rest of you, but I'm fairly technical. I understand, for example, a lot of the anti-DDoS solutions that most of the exchange point operators use. So I understand how it could be done, but why do you say it is safer?
Okay, let's talk about DDoS, for example, because it is easy. It's like this. You have a DDoS coming from your transit provider, you complain, and you usually get an answer, black hole it. Tag it with 666, was it, or something, community?
RTBH, right.
Yeah. And in IXP environment, not SOX, any IXP environment, you do the basic traffic analysis, you see where the traffic is coming from, you tag, do not advertise my prefixes to this network. And that's it. DDoS comes from another site. Yeah, you have a mechanism. You have something to do with your DDoS.
You can also...
It's better than black holing. It's better than black holing because...
So there are multiple ways to black hole. I mean, I don't want to get into a discussion about products, but effectively there's the analysis component which happens inside your network. There's the how should I react component which you have to respond to, and you have to say either I need to send a message to my upstream provider to potentially black hole, potentially filter, potentially do, and this is the important part, potentially do a list of services that I have agreed with them on, right? And if you're a provider of some sort of anti-DDoS services as a seller, as a procurer of the service in the market, you would have negotiated with your customers what you can sell, what they can send you communities for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I still don't get why you say it's safer.
We can discuss for how to say hours about this, but in general, it is not what we do, but what we empower our customers to do. We give them tools that they use, tools that global IP transit providers does not give you.
So that's a challenge to the service providers in the room. So if you're a
Exactly.
transit provider,
yes.
I had someone from NTT
but they
was
exist
here,
for 30
right?
years, 50 years. Why didn't they implement it yet?
Okay, all right. So I'm not a service provider. I can't answer that question. I was just curious as to how you saw it. My next question, if you're allowing me a next question, is you said that it's easier these days to do 2 long-distance circuits from Serbia. So that would be Belgrade to Frankfurt, for example. And that makes it sound really easy. And the math to that, the arithmetic to that is awesome. But what about the economics to that? And careful, the economics, not the accounting to that.
Okay.
So the accounting to that would be, oh, well, it's cheaper to do this, so we should just go ahead and do it because the accounting is concerned with the short-term profit that you're trying to make right now. But the economics of it means, what is this decision going to mean for us for the next 5, 10, 15, maybe 30 years or so, a period that you define? would putting in 2 long-distance circuits, this is the question, with putting in 2 long-distance circuits to a remote point on the internet, it could be Frankfurt, it could be Amsterdam, it could be wherever it is it not economically weaker if you're trying to move this idea that the center of the internet does not exist in Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, wherever you're putting in circuits? By putting in these long-distance circuits, so you're not just increasing this notion, the idea of this notion, you're making this idea stronger that, well, the center of the internet's there, therefore we should do it. We should do this. By putting in these long-distance circuits or relying on folks to do this long-distance circuits, are you not disenfranchising private sector investment, which would otherwise have done this, and which probably is doing it? I'm sorry, I'm not asking specifically for Belgrade, I'm asking in general. I don't know your environment that well.
Again, I can talk for another 2 hours about this, but let me be very brief. Maybe due to my bad English, I did not emphasize enough these 2 lines to Frankfurt happened 10 years ago. Today, SOX, what we are doing, we are doing regional, neighboring countries. So, 8 years ago when we started, there was no Google, there was no in Serbia. There was no Google, there was no Facebook, there was no Cloudflare, but thanks to George, Jan, among other people, Florence, Martin Levy, I don't know who else, we brought some of the content to Serbia, but the one that we could not bring to Serbia, we connected in the neighboring countries. Yeah. And we are a private company. We are a private company. Nenad and myself, we are owners and that's it. We are very fast, we are very, very, how to say, cautious about investment. So we are not going to Frankfurt, London or Amsterdam. We are trying to build strong local presence and to cooperate with as many customers as we can. Partners, whoever. Regarding the economics, maybe it is not for this room. Maybe we can talk it directly. I'm really open to talk about economics of our company.
So I'm not talking about your company. I'm thinking about the society in general. Because I think that's an inherently bad idea. But if you want to talk about it afterwards, we can.
Inherently bad idea
Jan Zos is
what?
telling me.
I suggest that you two sit at the same table at dinner tonight.
And continue.
Jan Zos is telling me to be quiet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are well over time, so Zoran, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.